Hello, welcome to my Kubota L3600 overhaul, rebuild, etc. I bought this about a year and a half ago to use up at my cabin. It's 70 miles north of where I live and 3.5 miles off the road. And I want to make sure it's running well, because if it breaks down up there, I'm in a world of hurt to fix it. So I'll bring you up to speed on what I've done and what the big project is. So I got it. It had a bunch of things wrong with it. One was the seat was rusted out. So far I went ahead and got a piece of 1/8" sheet metal and welded that on there, drilled it all out, welded some bolts under it. So just got to paint that yet. Another project was I got these tires, had to switch them out. I got those on Amazon, or no, I'm sorry, Walmart Plus for a good deal, like $100 shipped to Alaska for free. The big ones though, I was worried about having to spend a lot of money on. I was told that by a couple places in town, $700, $800 a tire, and then I stumbled on Giant Tire in Fairbanks, Alaska here, and I picked these up for like $20 more than what I could buy them on Walmart, but then I'd have to pay for shipping up here. And so I switched those out. It wasn't too hard. I did it myself. To get the old ones out, which were almost like rusted in, they were all, just corrosion here. I found the best way to do it was put a bunch of soapy water on there and just let it soak in for an hour or so. And then I tried 2 different methods. I bought these on Amazon. They're relatively cheap and they work as described on tractor trailer tires that are thinner, but the thickness of this is 12 inches, and it popped the top bead off really easy, but I couldn't get the bottom off. So I ended up just getting a couple of these, and they worked really good. And then it came time to paint them. I would not use this paint again, Krylon Farm and Implement. I hand painted them, and it took forever to dry. And for the first one, and then I put a bunch of acetone in the second one and some catalyst to make it go off faster, and it still took forever. On the inside of them, I used Rust-Oleum Professional, and that went on really smooth. There were no runs, and it dried in like 4 hours. One thing I used to get them off was this here bead buster. I had a small one for my ATV tires, and that worked okay for ATV tires, but this thing, you put one part, you see that little clamp there, so you put the bottom part, you jam it in here, and then the other part tucks over there, and you just crank down on it, and 3 places on each tire, and it just popped right off. And then putting them back together, I found this at Alaska Tire, started putting this on my ATV tires and my skid steer tires, and it works really good. It's not the typical sealant that you like glues up and hardens. This stuff is more of a grease, but it's got rust prohibitives in it and all that. Fralube, no rim rust Prima. Yeah, I liked it so much I bought, that should last me 3 lifetimes, but that's the smallest they have. So what else do I got to do? So I don't know if you can see down here. I'll reach right there, that big pin. That's in the steering mechanism, and it's escaping me right now what it's called. But I got to drop that out and put a new one in with some bushings. And then I had to pull the prop shaft out, which I explained on another video. I did that already. It was leaking, so I got to replace that seal. But I also had to pull it down anyway for the big project, which was I'm going to break this open and put a new clutch in to it. I got the clutch today in the mail. Came everything, the whole kit, couple, the throw-out bearing, I forget what that bearing's called, clutch plate, and then a pressure plate. And this guy, I got him off eBay, Jeff's Tractor out of Humboldt, Iowa. But he was really helpful, answered all my questions. He didn't upsell me. He said, this is, for what I do, this is a better one than those 6 paddle ones and that clutch plates. Comes with an alignment tool also. And I couldn't beat the shipping, large flat rate to Alaska, USPS. So in order to get to this stage was a pain in the butt. The biggest, you got to take a lot of stuff off to get to the case, which is right here. There's 4 to 10 bolts, I believe, around this thing, and you separate and pull it apart. But the biggest, you just follow the directions. I got a manual, and if you follow that, it works really good. The biggest problem was the panel over here, steering console, whatever you want to call it. It has a bunch of holes in it that linkages go through. So you got to undo all those linkages and pull this thing off. The biggest linkage was, this is the shifter, front, forward, neutral. And it's supposed to break apart right here at that spline. Just slide right off, but this thing's 35 years old or so. So it didn't quite, or maybe only 25 years old. But I ended up having to push out this pin right there. But the only way I could do that is lift the panel over there about 4 inches, and I had that was sort of a pain. Once that was up, I was able to pop the pin out and then pull this whole thing out. And then the steering box, it's a power steering unit, and it's got 4 attachments to it. I think they're like a 3/8" JIC fitting. Right here, you just got to unscrew those. If I would do it again, I'd make sure I had the plugs that put in, some plugs to put in these, because when I'm moving it around, turn the wheels by hand, it spurts hydraulic fluid out. But once you get that out, it's not a big deal. Some other linkages I got to get rid of. I took those down today. Right here's a brake linkage that goes to the back, and then that's linked up through that console all the way up here. So I had to remove those. Now I just have to get rid of a few hydraulic hoses. Like I take that out there, and then I got to decide, there's 2 or 3 more here. I got to decide if I want to keep them with the front of the tractor or the back of the tractor. So, and then the only other thing is I got a couple bolts right there on each side that I got to get rid of, take out. So I'm gonna prop the underneath up, the back, with all this dunnage, and then the front I'm gonna wheel the engine hoist under and lift that up, the front up, and then once it's apart, I'll pull it out apart and then put some timbers under the bottom here to shore that up. So that's where I'm at, and I'll come back occasionally and keep you up to date. Hopefully it'll go okay. Thanks for watching. A couple other things I left out in relation to this shifter. So I was able to get this off after I got it out of the tractor. I put it in a vise and heated up with a acetylene torch, and I was able to knock it off. And then on these hoses here, you'll see this one has a orange around it, and this one has nothing. These two are the same size, and if you hook those up backwards, your steering's going to turn the wrong way. And there's a corresponding orange zip tag tie on the bottom of the steering wheel where it goes into the power steering unit over there later.